I mean, Rob, let's get to that game last night. We haven't talked about it yet. As I said earlier, Packers 10, Bears 3 in Chicago. So a good win for the Packers.
It could, and I don't want to jump the gun, Chris. It's only week 1. But if that division is as contested as we think it will be with the Vikings and, the Bears
and those two teams,
and the Packers, that's a huge win to get a win on the road like that for Green Bay. That was huge.
Huge win. You're absolutely right. Huge win. We both picked the Packers to win the division. And you're right, because now Chicago, they may have to go into Green Bay and win to be able to win the division. So it's a huge win. But it also was really a great advertisement for as much as we all destroyed the preseason games and all that, and how everybody's talking about getting rid of the preseason and all that, and none of the starters hardly play. That was like an advertisement for the importance of preseason. Really.
100%, because they looked rusty, like they hadn't played.
Gosh. They looked horrible.
Right. Both quarterbacks and both teams' offenses. And Green Bay was able to get the only touchdown of the game. And then they had the big drive to get that final field goal. But other than that, there was not much going on. I totally agree.
And you're talking about one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the league, but ever. And he looked rusty. Everybody's talking about how bad Trubisky looked, and he looked bad. Don't get me wrong. But Rodgers looked only slightly better. He, like you said, he had that one drive where he looked great in that one. Completed a 47-yarder or whatever it was. Oh, yeah,
that was play. That was the game.
That was
there.
The game. Yeah. And then the touchdown pass a few minutes later. But they looked bad. They had 20 penalties combined and 10 sacks. And defense is going to be way ahead of the offense at this point in the season because defense is more instinctive and reactive, whereas offense, it's about timing, chemistry, and being comfortable in your system and with your new teammates. And Aaron Rodgers, we all know this is a new system with Matt LaFleur. So maybe you could have predicted that it was going to look bad. And Mitch Trubisky, second year in the system, he doesn't have that excuse. He really looked poor.
I'll tell you this.
The Packers offense, for all that we've heard about LaFleur being, Sean McVay II and all that, their offense looked a lot like it did last year.
Totally. That was the problem. I didn't see any wrinkles. And you got to tell me, I watched the game. I didn't see the wrinkles. I didn't see some innovative new young hotshot coach who made me look at Aaron Rodgers differently. They started off the game with a run play. It was just like, this is what Mike McCarthy used to do. Yep. I really did not see anything different. And I'm not saying I'm a football coach or anything, but I didn't. Somebody would have to point out what was different because I didn't see it.
What was different was the Packers' defense. And that was really, obviously you're happy anytime you get a win, especially on the road against a division rival. But that was really the bright spot last night, even for Aaron Rodgers.
He even said it. Did you see the post-game interview?
Oh, he was hyped.
He was like, we got a defense.
Yep.
That's exactly what we got, a defense. And you know what? I'm not mad at him. I know it's week 1 and maybe Mitch Trubisky and the offense was rusty.
It
doesn't matter.
Might be that bad. Yeah,
okay?
It's hard to tell at this point.
Exactly. But you're Green Bay. You go to Chicago. And you only give up a field goal, which was in the first quarter, right?
Yep.
That's all you gave up in the game. That is amazing. And then they did have the big interception at the end of the game to seal it. That's what defenses do, Chris. They get takeaways. They make plays at the end of the game. That's what won that game for them, right?
No, you're right.
The Bears were driving.
And anytime you're the Packers – and you can say we won a game with Aaron Rodgers struggling, playing what may end up being his worst game of the year.
Yep.
And you only scored 10 points and you won. If you're the Packers, man, you'll take that.
Because you believe that as LaFleur gets his feet under him, Chris, and Aaron Rodgers, who didn't take a snap in preseason, gets his legs under him, that it'll get better. The offense will get better. So that's the way you have to look at it, that somehow they went on the road, Aaron Rodgers only mustered 10 points, and you got a W inside your division.
Yep. Well, and here's the thing, Rob. Last year, they held one team to fewer than 3 points last year, and that was the Buffalo Bills, who were horrible. They beat them 22-0. Other than that, every other opponent scored in double figures against Green Bay. So that right there shows you. I mean, they made a lot of, nice free agent acquisitions.
They spent money on the defense.
The two Smith guys, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, the Amos kid with the interception. And, that's something the old regime was really hesitant to do, was go out and spend money on free agents. So, yeah, that's a bright spot for Green Bay. As you said, you got to believe in Aaron Rodgers. Now, I will say this, and I'll give him the excuse of that it was week one and, it was a new offensive system. He didn't play in the preseason. So all those, I think, are legitimate
Right,
excuses.
That's not making it right. Those are legit, right?
But Rob, he's coming off a year. Yeah, it was better than most. He's Aaron Rodgers, but it wasn't a typical Aaron Rodgers season.
Right. Most people would take 25 touchdowns and 2 picks, but Aaron Rodgers, you expect more.
His numbers overall, Tom Brady's were better. And I'm not even trying to be funny, but they were slightly better. And they were, his last 49 games before last night, he was 24-24-1. So that's basically 3.5 seasons. And so Aaron's got to be better. Can we say there's no excuse now? Like, if the defense, maybe it's not the Bears' defense. Maybe it's not.
Right, it might not be that,
defense,
but it's be better than it has been.
If it's good, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. And now it's just Aaron going out there and getting it done. And I think he can, but I'm just saying, like, he's got to be better. That did not look like Aaron Rodgers at all.
Yeah, I will give him a pass only from the standpoint of the stuff you just mentioned. I just think the Bears are a good defense. That's number one. So you weren't gonna light them up. You weren't putting 40 on them. So I get that. And they got to him. I mean, they sacked him a number. How many
5 times?
Yeah, they got to him. So whenever and the first 2 or 3 drives, I mean, they have negative.
They had negative 12 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't do anything, and then he was able to have a couple of drives that were big. So yeah, I think it's a starting point. I think you'll look at week 2 and 3 and see where they are. And they have now. This is the thing that they pointed out last night on the broadcast. After that first game in Chicago, Chris, 5 of their next 6 are at Lambeau. So they got a golden opportunity to, know what I mean, load up and maybe win 5 out of 6 and then or.
No, you're absolutely right. This is big for them. I mean, we talked about how tough that division is going to be, and this is an opportunity for them to get a little bit of breathing room. Now, they got Minnesota next week. They get the long rest.
Right.
But they got Minnesota at home, then Denver at home. Denver's a game you should win. You got Philadelphia at home, and then you're at Dallas. So they're not easy games.
No. But you're home, right?
Yeah, most of them are at home.
And the one
it's interesting because Minnesota, Philadelphia, Dallas. That's 3 of their next 4.
Those are hard.
They could lose 3 of their next 4.
Sure.
If
they win 3 of their
Lions,
next 4,
so they should route them.
Right.
And then Oakland. Who knows what Oakland will be looking at that point.
Right. They need it's a tough stretch, but it's even better for them because it is home.
Right. So what about Trubisky? I got to be honest, and I picked the Bears to make the playoffs. I'm concerned. I know it's week 1, and we can give him some of the
But he
same
also
excuses.
Did he take a snap? I don't think he took a snap during the preseason either.
We can give him some of the same excuses we gave Rodgers. However, Rodgers has earned the benefit of the doubt. Trubisky has not. He was, he's fine last year. He had a third best QBR in the league.
But here's the other thing, too.
But I'm not sold. I wonder if that offense is good enough for them to really be legitimate contenders.
Especially, Chris, here's the big part. Last year, they got 36 takeaways.
Right.
Are you going to get 36 takeaways this year? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And when you get those takeaways, what happens? That sets you up and shorter fields. Good,
yep.
Exactly. And that makes it a lot easier for Mitch Trubisky to do what he does. Now, when you're not getting all those and you have to go 80 yards or 75 yards, it ain't the same.
Well, there was a quote from one of the Packers linebackers. I'm sorry, defensive backs.
Right.
And it was a telling quote. He actually said what we wanted to do. I don't have it right. You got it? All right, let's hear it.
We wanted to make Mitch play quarterback. We knew they had a lot of weapons. We knew they were dangerous. We knew all of those things, but we knew if we could make Mitch play quarterback that we'll have a chance.
Who was that, Rob? That's Trayvon Williams. I mean, my goodness, Rob. You talk about an insult.
Right.
We wanted to make him play quarterback? Like, that's what you play.
Well, but I know, but they wanted him to throw the ball. Have to throw the ball.
But don't you admit that's an insult?
Well, I know that in looking at Twitter last night after the game, there were plenty of Bears fans who were like lukewarm on him to begin with, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Who all of a sudden yesterday were like, here we go. He's not going to be the guy. He's not good enough. Because that was a game, and if you looked at, both of us picked Green Bay. But if you go back and look at all the pregame shows and all that other stuff on ESPN and NFL Network and NBC, 90% of the people picked the Bears to win that game.
Really?
Yes.
I know our colleague Chris Carter picked the Bears to reach the Super Bowl.
Wow. I would love to have heard first things first this morning after that.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about them. I mean, to be honest, like I said, are they good enough offensively to even contend for a Super Bowl?
Well, I don't know. I think the jury's out.
One game.
I know, right. We're not saying it's overreact.
But here's the thing, too, as we started off talking about this was an advertisement for the importance of preseason. I don't want, Rob, a month. I don't want the first month of the regular season to be preseason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's see what happens Sunday. Are 75% of the teams going to look like this?
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then I mean, I already, after just last night, I'm like, you know what? They need to play a couple of preseason games at least.
Yeah, but not everybody did not take snaps or whatnot. So there's other guys who should be a little further along, right?
Well, and the Rams,
like Kyler Murray,
they didn't play any of their starters last year, and they obviously made the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So it worked for them. I was going to say Kyler Murray got plenty of action as a rookie, right?
He's playing action,
right? But he's playing against the Lions. That's a game that I'm looking at.
Interesting.
I'm picking the Lions in that game. Yeah, I bet that game. I bet 3 games this week, and
I'm worried about you betting now, man.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the first time. You know I never bet. You know I never bet money.
You never used to buy a pair of Jordans every 2 weeks either.
I haven't had one now in about a month.
You're just rolling in the dough.
Stop it. No, I'm not.
Seriously. You are rolling. Like, you come to L.A. and you just turning it out, man. I mean, my goodness, Betty. What's next? You're making it rain at the houses of ill repute.
Yes.
You're betting now, and you're getting a pair of Jordans or Gucci's every 2 weeks.
Not every 2 weeks. And
3 weeks. Every 3 weeks.
Next thing you know, maybe I'll get married to a 22-year-old. How about that?
No, I know you don't look at anything over 32.
Would you stop?
You don't.
Yes,
I've seen attractive 50-somethings want to give you a little play, and you ain't even
Can't do it.
You know I'm right, Rob. I'm putting a little too much out there, huh?
That's all right.
And my cheese was hot.
My cheese was hot back in the 40s.
Hey, it's The Odd Couple. I'm Chris. He is Rob. And we want to encourage all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's right. You know, you can listen to us on the radio, and now you can watch us as well. And it's fun.
No question about it. And remember, oh, yeah!